It's time for Fort Worth Musical Moments. Join us now as Steve Marquardt takes a look at the music and the artists who made the city's vibrant musical legacy what it is today. It's that time again, another Fort Worth Musical Moments. I'm your host, Brent Adams, along with Steve Marquardt. And Steve, we've said it before on this show here. People often say, true country music is dead. They think about the days of Waylon and Willie and Merle Haggard and Jones and Ray Price and all those kind of guys. And today's special guest is living proof that that's just not the case.
Absolutely. We've got this guy has one of the best voices out there, great singer. He's one of the foundational members of Clarksville Creative Sound back before it was Clarksville Creative Sound. And that's why we wanted to bring Kurt Ryle in here to help us with this one, because we've got Daryn Wright in here. And so Daryn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
And Kurt, thanks for joining us.
You bet. It's good to see you, Daryn.
We figured if we're going to dig up stories on Daryn, that you'd be the best guy to help us with that.
I could get him in so much trouble, guys. I could blackmail Daryn. We could make so much money right now. Actually, Daryn and I go way back. We've been doing this together for quite a while. Back when we had a record company called Black Ribbon Records before Clarksville Creative Sound came along. In fact, there we are. He came in and woke me up one morning when I was about half asleep, and that's why I looked so kind of ugly in them pictures there. But now that goes back several years, and whenever Steve Marquardt and myself started Clarksville Creative Sound, and we decided to take this thing to another level, we brought Daryn along with us because he was by far one of the better singers we had on the label.
Well, I will never forget coming to that very first songwriters workshop that Dina Wood made. She made me go. She and Jim drove me up to Nashville or Clarksville, I should say. And the first thing I thought of she goes, "Well, this is where it's happening," and I said, "This is a bowling alley." And so we went down below the bowling alley, and they had this great, huge event hall, which was really a nice facility. And then I sat through the workshop and watched Kurt conduct that, and I was super impressed with that, and got to participate in that songwriters deal. And then you fired up the music, and I had my eye on Daryn because I thought that guy's got kind of a cool outlaw look, and I'm wondering, let's see how good these guys are. And Daryn got up there and just blew me away. And I've been a fan of his ever since, and just honored to get to work with you, Daryn, and see where you're going from here. And we got a lot to talk about because you just got back from a major whirlwind trip. You were all over the place, but we want to hear all about that and talk a little bit about what's going on with you presently and where we're going from here.
All right. What do you want to know for starters?
We'll let our fearless host Brent Adams kind of lead the way.
Well, first of all, we've got to know here. We know you're from Texas, and we want to know all about that. But you're sitting in the cab of your semi here, parked at a truck stop. Tell us where you're at.
I'm in Altoona, Iowa, which is just outside of Des Moines, Iowa.
Nice. So he's taking time off the road here to join us today. Tell us a bit about that balance, because like a lot of independent artists, you got to keep food on the table. So that means, being able to have a day job here and run the roads to be able to support this music habit of yours.
That's right. Long time ago, Warren Buffett decided to buy some programs or some companies that own the programs that give out free music. And ever since then, it's been very difficult for the music industry, for artists like myself, to quit their day job and make a living real easily doing music. So thanks to Warren Buffett, there's a lot of free music out there to listen to, but the artists are not getting paid like they used to 30, 40 years ago.
Right.
Well, Warren Buffett needs that money.
Of course.
Well, and I can shed a little more light on this thing, guys, because I remember when Donald Trump became president. I remember Kid Rock went to Washington D.C. and had a meeting with the president, and this is basically what Darren's talking about. Kid Rock was telling President Trump, he said, "Look, our music is playing all over Europe. They're playing on radio stations everywhere." And he said, "We don't ever get paid for it." And Donald Trump passed a bill, an executive bill, right there on that spot, saying that they had to pay us. And I remember I got a substantial check in the mail shortly after that, where they were actually paying back royalties to songwriters. And man, I had thousands of songs over there in that market. So, but then shortly after that, after the election and Biden came in, he destroyed that bill. So now we're right back where we were. And this is not a political thing I'm doing. I'm just telling you this is a fact. We got to get that bill back. We got to get our people like Daryn Wright, people who sing like this guy, should be able to do nothing but music. And until we get our government behind this, and make people, other nations, pay for our music, we're gonna struggle. And so I hope the next administration, whoever it is, I just hope that they will and put that bill right back out there, and let's get this thing going again. So, you know.
Well, Brent, you sent me something, and I haven't had a chance to dive into it, so I'll let you speak. You can speak a lot more intelligently than I can, but there's been a lot of conversation about the revenue splits, if you can even call it that at present, the monetization engine, whatever you want to call it, with all these streaming platforms that are the norm right now. Right. And how unfair that is. And of course, we've talked about it ad nauseum, Kurt and I have, since we got together and started figuring out how can we more effectively monetize music for us, the independent artists. So Brent, speak to that deal that you just sent me.
Yeah, so the gist of it is the major labels have woken up to the fact that now about 35% of the music that's streamed is coming from independent artists, and that's too much of a chunk for them. So they're really putting the heat on the streaming companies now to change the model for paying. And right now you have to have about 1 million streams to get $3,000. Well, you and I know that's not going to go real far for any artist here. So they're trying to put the clamps down on it and make the metrics for payment more than just downloads. It's got to be fan engagement in some form or fashion. So Universal Music Group, which is one of the 800-pound gorillas in the music industry, has kind of led the charge and is rallying some of the other major labels to kind of get behind this deal to squeeze out the independent artists. So that's something that bears watching over the next few months here, is they kind of approach Spotify and some of these other streaming services to see where all this is going. And Steve, I know you and I have talked about this, and Kurt, just the importance of kind of creating our own channels that circumvent, the machine, so to speak, here, so the consumer can go directly to artists and not have to fool with these monoliths, because there's no hope in that for an independent artist.
Well, I happen to have a chart here that I pulled up the other day, and I'm going to put my cheaters on because I can't see without them. And so I'll just give you an idea. This is a chart that talks about the different streaming platforms, what they pay per stream, and how many streams do you need to get to $1,000 of income. And I'm not sure when this came out, but there's a whole bunch listed here, but I'll just pull out some of the ones that I'm sure everybody's heard of. So Apple Music seems to be, 1/10 of 1 penny. So you got to have 100 streams to get $1,000. 100,000 streams to get $1,000 out of Apple Music.
And they're one of the better ones.
Amazon Music, 250,000 streams to get to $1,000 of income. Spotify, it gets worse. Spotify, you got to have 303,000 and $30 or 30 streams, to get to $1,000 income. YouTube Music, 125,000. Pandora, you got to have 770,000 streams to earn $1,000, and so on and so forth. So, talk about getting sliced paper thin. I've had my stuff out there, and Daryn, I'm sure you have too, and Kurt, and we've all had our stuff out there. We do those package deals through TuneCore or what are the others?
CD Baby or DistroKid.
Yeah, and they're all pretty much the same. And what those guys do is just aggregate it all, and with one source, you get your music spread out to all those platforms. And yeah, you get a lot of exposure, but sure can't make a living doing that. And so to your point, Brent, and to the conversation that we've all had, one of the first things Kurt and I, when we sat down at one of those very first meetings up in the Smoky Mountains over a year ago, you and I, Kurt and John Castleberry, we all talked about, the challenge here is to prove that as an independent artist, you can actually make a living and be able to, quit your day job. I mean, I'm sure Daryn enjoys driving a truck, but you'd probably much rather be on stage doing, what you're born to do, because God gave you that talent that not everybody gets. And so we've talked about that. And yes, the obvious thing would be, well, let's create our own marketplace. But then the question remains, how do you drive people to that marketplace? Once you've got it set up. And and that's kind of where, and I'm getting way ahead of everything here, but that's kind of where this new network comes in that we're involved with pretty heavily, this American Country Network. And we believe they are committed to have millions and millions, tens of millions of viewers in a very short order. And so we think that could be the vehicle that could drive people to such a market.
Well, and Steve, just to reiterate what you're saying too, if our artists are on these TV shows, on these programs, and this is we're talking about national cable TV, that is the tool to get people to go to the platform to stream the music. It's a no-brainer. This is the only way. It takes something like that. The major labels are going to always squeeze out the little guys, but if in a situation like we're in, if we can get this cable TV network off the ground, I guarantee you people are going to go, there it is, it's American Country Network, and we're part of this thing. We'll have our own show on there, I think. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but that's our goal. And if everything goes well, then they will have a platform. People will stream from that platform. And real quickly, I just want to say this: Clarksville Creative Sound has an artist named Daryn Riley. Everybody knows about Daryn Riley. Daryn Riley, Steve and I the other day were talking, and we were just going out there on YouTube alone, just YouTube. And Daryn probably is the biggest internet star that we have on this label. And when we started adding her YouTube numbers up, all combined, we came out to over 100 million views. That is huge, guys. That is huge. This kid is, I know she's making money from it, but not anywhere near. Could you imagine if they were paying her what's just a fair rate, what kind of money? This kid could be wealthy. So we have to change that, and the way to change that is to do what we're talking about, have a platform, our own platform, where we can do that. So
yeah, and I believe that and Jaden, somebody like Jaden who has that very and we all have fan base. I mean, I know Daryn, I know you, and we're gonna let you talk here in a minute, I promise. And I know you've got a good following too. Jaden has a very passionate following, and so there are other things in the works too that we are looking at and trying to be, to kind of stay ahead of the curve and be cutting edge through partners like Philip Rather with the musicalapp.com thing that he's working on. So this Web3 thing, which is very intriguing, using the blockchain technology and the NFT concept, which, its time will come for music, and we want to be on the leading edge of that. And we had a conversation with Philip, Kurt, myself, and Tommy Snyder, the CEO of American Country Network. And Tommy and I, Kurt, this morning, right after I talked to you, Tommy and I had another conversation about that, and he's really excited about it and wants to, and he's meeting with his partners with the founders, I think later today on that. So we all these good things in the works. And look, we could do a whole show on this, but let's not take any more time away from Daryn, who was kind enough to, on the road too, spend the morning with us. So we want to get back to Daryn and hear more about your recent trip to the Netherlands and the Netherlands and Never Land, wherever the heck you went. And so we'll turn it back over to Brent and want to hear more about all of that.
Right. Well, we absolutely want to find out about the Red Carpet Awards here, and we'll get to that here. But to set the stage for that, I kind of want to rewind a bit for folks who are just coming in and don't know you so well. Kind of take us back here. Tell us a bit about the music you grew up on, because you have such a traditional style and such an appreciation for that classic style. Where did that come from?
I grew up listening to stuff like Lawrence Welk, Alabama, not to be confused with Alabama. Alabama's way, way, way before Alabama. Hank Sr., all the old country radio shows, Bob Wills, that's all that seemed to be on the TV is something about Western stuff. Western movies. Let's see. I can't think of what his name was. It was a big thing, but it was Daniel Boone, shows like that. Roy Robinson. That's the name I was trying to think of.
Roy Rogers. Yeah.
Roy Rogers. Yeah.
So when did you develop an interest in performing? And I actually realized that you had a voice.
Well, I started real early. They were telling me I was singing on key at age 2. So they were kind of forcing me to perform in front of people probably about 4 or 5. And ever since then, being in different shows and requested to do the solo or winning awards for different school years. In the 4th grade, I remember they chose me nationally as a #1 pick as a soprano singer for special boys choir. And I can't remember how many people were in there, but there was more people in that choir than I could count.
Wow. So I hear that voice. Soprano isn't the first thing I think of.
No, well, it went through the changes, of course.
So Kurt, do you remember the first time you heard him?
Yes. In fact, I was I was taken back with Daryn the first time I heard him in the studio, because most singers when I'm in the recording studio, I'm pulling out stuff all out of them. I'm trying to get them to do things that they're not accustomed to doing, trying to see. Basically, what I'm trying to do is find out how much range they have, high and low. And I want to know, in Jaden Riley's case, for example, she has a 5-octave range. There's absolutely, she can sing harmony with a dog whistle. I'm just telling you. And I discovered the same thing about Daryn. Most singers, I'll have to, work on and say, let's see if you can hit this note. In Daryn's case, it was like I had to pull him back. He was like a horse. I was pulling the reins back, going, man, wait a minute. If you're not careful, Daryn, you're going to over sing to the point where nobody can even relate to you. And so, I kind of had to keep him. I'd let him go and let him hit notes and I was astonished at the notes that he was able to hit. And so in Daryn's case, it was very different from any other artist that I've ever recorded. I was basically pulling back on the reins, where with other people, I'm trying to get them to stretch out more. So yeah, Daryn has definitely got more voice control probably than most any artist that I've ever recorded. His control, when he goes to hit a note, it's there. He hits it quick. And he doesn't have intonation problems. I don't have to use auto tuning. It's fascinating to hear him sing, and Daryn's got a great voice. It's great.
Thank you very much for that.
Daryn, had you spent much time in a recording studio before joining with Kurt?
I've been in studios before, but each one was a lesson experience to get to where I needed to be.
Mm-hmm. What would you say that Kurt has done for you in terms of learning the craft and getting the best possible sound out of your voice in the studio?
He's a true master at the vocals. With the music also, but the vocals was the biggest thing that I was struggling to reach before I got to Kurt. The part of the problem with my voice is there's an undertone from everybody's bones. It gives out a certain tone, which is picked up by the machine. A normal man, I believe, is a B flat. Mine's a little bit different with an E flat. So as long as we know what the E flat is, we can set the machine at E flat so it doesn't try to take me somewhere where I'm not supposed to go. So it will try to correct something that sounds good and take it somewhere where it's really, really funky.
Well, there's something pretty powerful in those bones, and I want to share one of these songs here. Tell me a bit about the cover "When I Had You."
Well, I took and listened to the song, decided that was one of the songs I wanted to record. And I don't like to over rehearse or even listen to them very much before I go in the studio. I like to feel the full 100% of the emotion of the music when I go in there. I see the words, I dive into what the words are saying and put it out there. So on this particular song, I listened to it a couple times. I immediately got in my head a different version vocally. And when I got into the studio, I said, well, Kurt had me listen to it one more time. And I said, well, if you let me give you my version real quick, I have a very unique version of that song. And he liked what I did and changed a few things. And this is the outcome that we got.
And Kurt, as a producer, when somebody comes to you and says that, what's your first inclination?
I actually love that. I love the artist to have input. I like every artist to come in and go, I want to try this. I love that because it shows that they have a desire to do it. And a lot of times you get a lot of these young artists in here, they're just standing there waiting for you to tell them what to do. And I like that creative side of artists. And Daryn definitely is not afraid to take a song. In fact, the song, Daryn, you're talking about that he recorded, I recorded that song. I wrote it and put my voice on it the way I heard it, which was just like a real pretty country ballad. Daryn takes it and Aaron Neville's that thing, man. And I'm like, good Lord, I was not expecting that, but I love that stuff. And, at times with Daryn, I have to hold him back because he will go too far. He will take it as far as you'll let him take it. And as a producer, you have to know the boundaries, and Daryn just has no limit to what he can do. So yes, I loved it. If you listen to my version of it and listen to Daryn's version, you almost think it's a different song. It's almost like Chris Stapleton doing Tennessee Whiskey and then hearing George Jones do it. It doesn't even sound like the same song.
Daryn told us that, before you joined, that he heard your version and said it was terrible, so he had to.
Well, you know what? It comes down to, if you listen to my version, you're basically hearing a country music song. And if you listen to Daryn's version, it's going somewhere beyond that. And I just loved it. I thought it was a great rendition the way he did it.
A lot of power in that voice for sure. And it's neat when somebody can take the same song and make it their own. And Daryn's definitely got that the power in his voice and the control to do that. So what you're saying is when you first got him, he was like a wild thoroughbred, bucking to get out of the gate, and you had to be like, "Whoa, down boy."
Well, and he still, I think Daryn still is like that. I don't think Daryn can be tamed. I think if you get him on stage and just turn him loose, he's going to sing. But you get him in the studio, you've got to have some control over that, or otherwise you get over people's heads real quick. It's very similar to lyrics. You can write lyrics that will get over people's head. They don't even understand what the hell it means. Well, Daryn can do that with his voice. It's very unusual, but it's good.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, the artistry really comes out in the finished product here, and we're going to share it with everybody now. This is When I Had You.
I'm not dreaming. I never thought you'd come around. Yes, I still have a smile. I just wear it upside down. No, I'm not the same without you. That's why I look the way I do. Guess I'm never gonna be the way I was when I had you. I hoped you wouldn't see me in this awful shape I'm in. Oh, I could change tomorrow if you take me back again. But if it's really over, forget this man I've turned into. 'Cause I wanna be remembered the way I was when I had you. So leave me now so you won't have to see me when I break right down and cry. Or take me in your loving arms and tell me that your sweet love hasn't died. But if it's really over, lie to me, don't say we're through. 'Cause I wanna be remembered the way I was when I had you. I wanna be remembered the way I was when I had you.
Wow. And Kurt, when I hear that, I hear that Aaron Neville. I also hear a little bit of your old boss, Vern Gosden, in there. It's almost like you mashed those two up. And wow.
Yeah, Daryn definitely took it to another place. If you heard the original version of it, it's totally different. But boy, he really puts the passion in it. It's just great, Daryn. I loved how that came out.
Well, as a fellow artist, and a fellow vocalist, I'm reminded, after watching that video, I'm reminded of the story I heard, and this is a rock and roll context, when I can't remember, it was a member of the group, the Byrds, I think, that discovered Jimi Hendrix and brought him over to England, and then had Eric Clapton and some other guys. He said, "You got to come hear this guy play." After they heard Jimi Hendrix, Clapton got up and he said, "Where are you going, Eric?" He goes, "I'm going home to put my guitar in storage." So it's kind of the way I feel about it when I hear Daryn sing. I'm like, okay.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much.
So I know you have got a lot of ballads out there, some up-tempo stuff. Is there one kind or another that's your favorite?
It bounces depending on my feel or mood, but there is one that seems to be a little bit better than the rest at the moment. That's The Jukebox Has a 45, which is now won 2 major awards.
Well, yeah, man, that kind of leads us into this talk about the Red Carpet Awards, because you just got back here recently from the Netherlands here for that big awards ceremony. Tell us about that whole experience.
Well, it's a chance of a lifetime to go experience that. 41 different nations came together for this award show.
Yeah,
there I am right there.
Yeah, that had to be something. I know you had quite a few people from America, but really all over the world. What was it like getting to talk with those artists and listen to their artistry and just get that reminder that even though we're kind of toiling away here in the States, there's people all over the world that are trying to do the same thing.
Well, you know, we all came together and from all walks of life, all different kinds of backgrounds and customs, and with all the chaos and everything going on in the world, we all came together and it was 100% peaceful. Everybody was cheering each other on. Completely grateful when somebody was nominated and received their awards. And I don't know, it's like we all just became a sister and brotherhood out of chance. Nobody said, "Would you like to be my friend or brother?" We were just all there together, and it just happened.
Uh, any potential collaborations that could come out of this?
There's a few artists that would like to consider doing something in the future. Um, I won't mention names yet until we uh, sit down and figure out what we want to do as a quabble. You know,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
sorry, I'm a
So,
little tongue tied.
no, that's all right. You know, Kurt has to be especially gratifying. Of course, two artists, Daryn and Vanessa Bourne from Australia, that were there representing Clarksville Creative Sound, but also Kevin Fullen from Kentucky, another Clarksville Creative Sound artist, was an award winner for his song Denver there. So to see that, not just on the national stage, we got a couple big award shows coming up here next month with the CMA of Texas Awards and the Josie Awards, but to see it on an international stage, that's mind-blowing.
Well, it's something that we all strive for, or we should be striving for.
All right.
They were impressed enough that they actually asked me to. Well, they're making it a 3-day event next year, possibly with an extension before or after for concerts and stuff. On the 3-day event, they asked me to be one of the co-hosts for next year.
Wow. That's exciting stuff.
Well, Daryn, how was it hanging out? Did you hang out much with Vanessa Bourne? Because I know she can probably get you in trouble.
Yeah, but we did a lot of walking around town and checking out different stores and stuff, and it was great. Yeah, so the first thing that happened actually is when I got there, my bank decided that it was a risky area, and they took my credit card and they made it so I couldn't use it after I just paid them off. And so here I was with no hotel money. So it was a kind of a weird thing what the bank did there, but I had a nice lady from New Mexico decide to pay for my night. And the next day, the people who run the Red Carpet Awards went to Vanessa and said, "Hey, you should go talk to Daryn. He really could use a friend right now." And so Vanessa was asking me what was going on. And I said, "Well, the bank kind of messed me over. They waited till I get all the way to the hotel and decide to cancel my credit cards." And I said, "I've been on the phone for an hour to try to straighten it out. Finally, I reversed and threatened to take him to court because I'm diabetic. I can't be out here without food and medicine." So I ended up getting the money back and paying her back, but she ended up paying my meals and my entire hotel stay while I was there, which is really, really nice. So I thank her from the bottom of my heart for her generosity. And but I did make sure that she got the money back. So
that's quite a story. There's a song in that. I know there's got to be a song like busted flat in Amsterdam or something.
Smoke and mirrors in Amsterdam.
Yeah, Amsterdam can be interesting. I mean, anything goes in that city. It's been a long time since I've been there, but it's a pretty open society there.
Yeah, well, the award show was actually moved over to Almelo, which is over by Germany. It's a small town. The center of town is actually the Theater Hotel. So the whole theme of the hotel is the theater that's in the middle of it.
Well, Daryn, what do you think about, we've all got some pretty strong following overseas in that neck of the woods, and in the Netherlands and Germany and UK, Ireland, Spain, thanks to in large to a lot of the DJs that play our music. We've been talking a long time, and we really need to put together a kind of a package show for Clarksville Creative Sound and do some touring over there.
Absolutely. I would jump on the opportunity to help do that.
That would be great. We've got a few comments coming in here, and I want to share them real quick before we get back into the interview. Of course, we got Terry LeMaster, who said something about when Daryn performs, ladies throw things on the stage. Okay, we won't do that. And Dina Woods out there. Let's see. Peggy York is chimed in. Wanted to say hi to everyone. Dina said, let me put my glasses back on here. I've heard and Dina runs Indie Express, for those of y'all that don't know. And Indie Express is the pipeline that puts artists like us, like Daryn, puts your music out to thousands of radio stations worldwide. So Dina gives us the wheels to allow our music to travel. We love Dina. She's a huge part of Clarksville Creative Sound. Dina said, I've heard from so many radio professionals, and Dina's got relationships with just about every one of these DJs. So she says, I've heard from so many radio professionals concerning much of the music we distribute. She distributes a lot of it. But Daryn definitely garners their attention to a different level. He is loved the world over by radio stations and their listeners. He has a great following the world over. David D'Souza, Sid Randall, those are DJs, and too many others to name, are always requesting his music before we were ready to release it. We released a 45, and it jumped to the top of the charts immediately. So anyway, some nice, kind words from Dina Wood, who's, a friend to all of us, right?
Thank you, Dina.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Kurt.
I was just going to say one of the things that's I want to say about Daryn quickly is, Steve Markward and myself have a publishing company. We have publishing companies here with thousands of songs in this company, and you could listen to songs all day long trying to find songs that you like and want to record if you're an artist. What I've discovered about Daryn that sets him apart from a lot of the other artists is when he comes in to listen to the songs. I'll watch them sometimes. I'll be over here working in the studio, but I'm watching. They're listening to these things and they're writing down the titles of the songs they like. And what I've discovered about Daryn is that he immediately knows a hit song when he hears it. He reminds me of Braden Ryle an awful lot. Braden, you play a song for Braden and he'll pass on 100 of them, but there's that one hit, he's going to hear it. And that's basically, there they are together. There's Braden's a little boy there, but it's funny. Those two are very much alike when it comes to music. They know when they hear a song what's a hit. And Daryn, man, he has come in here and literally cleaned house, picking the very best songs in this catalog and recording them. And his success is proving that it really is about the artist, but it's also about that song. And a lot of these songs I don't write. We have writers on staff that write songs for our companies, but I want to just say quickly, Daryn mentioned one of the biggest songs that he has is called "The Jukebox Has a 45," and a good friend of mine named Bobby Charles, and Bobby Charles sent me the song one time. And he said, I think this is a hit song. What do you think? And it's basically, the song says, "The jukebox has a 45 aimed right at my heart." And it's talking about the little 45 single. And when I first heard that song, I thought that is a definite radio smash. And I played it for people, other artists, trying to get them to see what they say. I never push anything on them. Daryn comes in here. First thing he does is he listens to "The Jukebox Has a 45. He writes it down and goes, "I want to record that." That tells me right there more than about how an artist can hear a song and know if it's a hit. You're not going to put a bad song on Daryn Wright or Braden Ryle. Those two, I'm telling you right now. And quickly, I just want to say this about Braden, and I think Daryn's done this too. there's an organization that I speak at often in Nashville. It's called the Tennessee Songwriters Association. Daryn, I think you have ties with them too. I know I went there to speak one time, and Braden went with me. This was about 2 years ago, and there were a lot of people in this room, and I'm just speaking on songs. And I'll never forget, one guy in the back of the room raised his hand, and he said, "Can I play one of my songs for Braden?" And I said, "Sure, we'll take 3 minutes late." And he played, and it was a female version of a song. And Braden sat there and listened to it, and Braden looked at the guy, and he said, I absolutely want to record that song. And he did record it. It's his new single that's out right now. And just yesterday, he was in here saying, "That's my favorite song I've ever recorded." So, yes, you see what I'm saying? They've probably pitched him 500 songs at the Tennessee Songwriters Association. That's the only song he recorded. That's the only one. So, Daryn reminds me of Braden in that fact that he can, I know when I hear a hit song, the last time Daryn was here, I said, "I got a song that I wrote in the 90s. I said, I think you're going to like it." And I played it for him. And I think, Daryn, you'll remember this song. It was Becky Brown's Daddy, which we shot a video on. And if I'm not mistaken, that's your new single that's out there right now. Am I wrong? Or
Yeah, that's right.
It is. And I wish we had that video.
We do. You're getting ahead of me here.
Do we? Do we have?
We don't have the video. We've got the song. I do want to share the song before we get out of here. But before we do that, I wanted to share the song for the jukebox. What was it about that song that grabbed you?
I don't know. The lyrics is the first thing I look at. If the lyrics are sound, and then is it the right kind of feel of the rest of the music going with the lyrics, and is the right emotion in it. So it's a big combination. It's not just one thing. Like, all aspects of a song make a song, including the artist. So,
Daryn, do you ever stop and consider, you probably are in touch with at least some of your fans, there's a lot of them out there, too many maybe to be in touch with every one of them. But does that come into play for you when you're considering picking a song, saying, is this something my fans would like to hear? I mean,
I'm pretty in touch with what the music business really is looking for in the music. It's a little bit of a learning lesson going to more traditional, because I normally write more modern than traditional. So it was a little bit of a learning to go to reach towards the traditional side again. But it's not that difficult to understand if you like it without bias. Being biased is a big problem with a lot of people. They're biased about their own work. They're biased about what they like. But I'm able to step back and take a look from a different point of view. If I heard this on the radio, would I like it if somebody else was singing it, not just me?
Well, I think as an artist, it's important to take the music where you want to go, but you've also got to consider your fans. And it's okay to take them to the edge, but you don't want to take them into the ditch.
Right.
My musical tastes are so far out there, and I'm always telling Kurt, I'd like to do this song, or listen to it. And Kurt, a lot of times I go, yeah, that'd be good, and also you go, wait, Steve, come on, let's, come on back, let's, So yeah, you have to be careful about that. There's a fine line there, but.
A lot of times Steve is like Dan. He can go back into the 20s and 30s and pull out songs by Milton Brown, and he likes these things, and they're good, they're great. But I'm sitting there going, how in the world are we going to get this in today's market? So Steve has that ability to go out there and just cross over into all different kinds of genres, and Daryn could do the same thing. It's very difficult to find songs for artists like that. So you guys have done well. So I'm proud of both of you.
Let's hear this song.
I've tried to leave this place 100 times tonight. I'm a hostage of the jukebox, and it's captured my mind. playing that same old song I don't need to hear, making me pay attention to the fact that she's not here. Well, the jukebox has a 45 aim right at my heart, talking about love that's gone all wrong, making the teardrop start. I was doing all right till I came in here, now I'm falling apart. Oh, the jukebox has a 45 aim right at my heart. I just asked the waitress, could you play it once again? When she took my money, she just looked at me and grinned. She must think I'm crazy, 'cause it's easy to see that old armless bandit's doing a number on me. Well, the jukebox has a 45 aim right at my heart, talking about love that's gone all wrong, making the teardrop start. I was doing all right till I came in here, now I'm falling apart. Oh, the jukebox has a 45 aim right at my heart. I was doing all right till I came in here, now I'm falling apart. Oh, the jukebox has a 45 aim right at my heart. Oh, the jukebox has a 45 aim right at my heart.
Now that's a song you can be running down the road jamming gears to, huh?
That's it.
I have to get our other resident trucker Terry the Master to weigh in on that too, but that's one for the road.
You know, I think about my life and all the busted marriages and busted relationships. I never thought to blame it on the jukebox, but now I can. So, who wrote that song, Kurt?
Bobby Charles wrote it, and he's a songwriter. He and I have written several things together. As a matter of fact, the very first video you played, Brent, the way it was when I had you, I wrote that with Bobby Charles. So he and I have written a lot of songs together. Daryn seems to gravitate towards the songs he and I write together. So,
well, I'm just looking at a comment from Dina Wood, and I think this it could be a slogan for you, Daryn. Dina says, "Daryn wears a song from the inside out."
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Yeah, that fits it pretty good.
That's fair enough. And this song has really climbed the independent charts here, and even could put you in some bigger company here.
Well, that particular song, now that it's won 2 major awards, should actually be looked at for maybe a Grammy nomination. Just a hint.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so if we got any voters are out there, or anybody who can get in the ear of a voter, that's one to take a look at.
I know 2024 is closed as of the end of August, but maybe for 2025.
Yep. Well, we'll have an opportunity to. I think there's going to be an opportunity to re-release. You know, one of the things that dawned on me, the times when I've sat with Kurt and we've had some downtime in the evenings after the work day's over, and Kurt will just start pulling up all these songs, and I just shake my head and I go, my gosh, there's so much out here that needs to be shared with so much more of the world. And I think, again, with the work we're doing with this new network and some of the other things we're doing to get our music out to many more people, that we're going to have an opportunity, and we probably want to consider re-releasing a lot of things that were done, you know, a good while back, and give it new life. It's worthy of that.
Well, Daryn, as you look at your career here, what you've accomplished to date, what haven't you done that you still want to do?
Well, as I mentioned just a little bit ago, I haven't won a Grammy yet, so let's get her done.
There you go. And
I'm currently writing a movie. So that's something in my path. I will eventually film it, even if I have to do it myself. And all the music has to be written for it so far too.
so without giving too much away, tell us what you got that you're working on there.
It's a true story comedy that about a disastrous honeymoon. Never been written before because, like I said, it's a true story. So everything that could have went wrong went wrong.
Sounds kind of like a version of that movie, The Out of Towners, if you ever saw that.
Yeah, kind of. I can divulge what the name of it is. It's called Honey Moochers.
Honey Moochers.
Honey Moochers.
Yeah.
Long story short, we were the ones that were spending our honeymoon on everybody else's money because we lost a wallet. So
Starting to see a recurring theme here with you and travel.
well, it makes it memorable. There's no doubt about that.
Well, you'll have to check out Steve Marquardt Pictures whenever you're ready to release that, his new film production company.
Yeah, do that.
Right. So Daryn, you left Amsterdam. I mean, left the Netherlands. Didn't your travels take you to some other places before you got back home?
Yeah, I was asked to go sing. I know some people in the Philippines. I was asked to go sing there a few different places. Naga City, Manila, Muntinlupa, out on a beach on the North Shore area where the typhoon was at, which was kind of interesting. And one other place. I can't remember what the name of that place was. But
Well, how was that? Did you get a good reception from the audience out there?
absolutely. Yeah, everybody loves hearing me sing. So,
You know, the Philippines, that's a very musically inclined culture there. Not, I mean, every culture is, but one thing I noticed in my travels back when I was doing a lot of international traveling, spending a lot of time in China and Taiwan and places like that, whenever you'd go into the hotels or the nightclubs, the entertainment were always Filipino. And
Yeah.
so they seem to be more musically inclined for some reason. So that's interesting. And it's cool that you got to go over there and get some exposure.
yeah, well, you can sing just about anywhere. We went to this just one block party area, and there must have been 5 different bars next to each other, and every one of them had a band running. And it was all outside, so it's almost competing with each other. They had to tone it down so they wasn't too loud. But yeah, it was pretty interesting.
So you spent, how many days did you spend in the Philippines?
7.
And then where? Did you go anywhere else, or was that?
Flying back, I spent some time in Istanbul. That's an interesting airport. It's almost like a whole city all in itself.
Now you got me thinking of that movie Midnight Express. I don't know if y'all ever saw that movie.
I probably have, but I can't think of what it's about right now.
Never mind, we won't go there.
Right.
I have one question about the Philippines. Did you
Sure.
get to meet Manny Pacquiao?
No.
I could go to the Philippines and meet Manny Pacquiao. I would do it in a heartbeat.
Kurt's the president of his fan club.
He's the greatest fighter of all time, in my opinion.
I think even Kurt, I saw, and we won't get too far off on this rabbit trail, but I think I saw a quote from Mike Tyson saying that he thought Manny was the greatest boxer
I
ever.
think Manny Pacquiao was truly the greatest fighter that ever lived.
And now he's running for president, right?
He is running for president of the Philippines, and he will be president. I
And
guarantee
there was a
you.
guy that was homeless.
Yeah, he was living on the streets, and he walked into a gym because they would give him something to eat. So he decided to put on some gloves and fight so that he could keep going there every day to eat. And he became the greatest fighter that ever lived. Quite a story.
Kurt turned me on to that when we were together in the Smoky Mountains this last visit, and so we got to watch a lot of boxing. We got to watch the George Foreman biopic movie, which was really good. But anyway, so you went to Istanbul. You were just at the airport in Istanbul.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me out of the airport unless you were staying with a visa.
Yeah.
But you could walk for an hour one direction and not reach the other end.
with the luck you had traveling from a financial standpoint, I wouldn't leave the airport if I were you. And then from Istanbul, then you came back home, or?
Yeah, then I came back home, but as soon as I got home, it was right back to work. Normally, when they put me right back to work, it's daytime, but they said, well, guess what? You're going to nights right now. So I didn't have any time for break. Just had to unpack from the airport, repack for the truck, get things ready, and hit the road. Night shift for at least a week.
So you're doing a lot of jet lag trucking there. Huh?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and home for you is Whitney, Texas.
Yes, sir.
So my family, my father grew up down in Bynum near Hillsboro, not too far from Whitney, and we used to have a place out on Lake Whitney, and so I'm very fond of that area. A lot of great memories about Whitney. That's just kind of salt of the earth country, heart of Texas, central Texas down there, bordering into South Texas, and great area down there. I think Willie Nelson told a story about when he was a teenager and he thought he'd get into music promotion, and he literally got to book a show in Whitney, Texas, and bring Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys in there to play on the back of a flatbed trailer.
Wow.
That was his first experience with promoting music, and that's what he didn't even know much about Bob Wills until they played, and he said that got me hooked on Western swing for the rest of my life. So, little Whitney, Texas trivia for you there.
Yeah, about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago now, they stocked that lake with a bunch of catfish, and if I recall the numbers correct, it was about 1.5 million catfish were stocked into that lake.
Wow.
It's always been a good fishing lake and a good recreational lake because of the.
Yeah, it's a world-class tournament for catfish tournaments there.
Yeah, great. It's a great water skiing lake too because of the high cliffs and you can always find smooth water there. So we spent a lot of time in my teenage years water skiing out there, and we did a lot of competitive skiing and trained a lot out there. So.
Yeah, I don't do any skiing out there. I'm not. I didn't brave the gar. Where I grew up, we didn't have gar. Those are some scary looking fish, but I'll catch them and eat them. But I ain't gonna go swimming with them.
Yeah, I don't think those fish have evolved. They're prehistoric looking.
So what does it look like here on the riding end when you do riding and you're out there on the road? Where do you find time to sneak in a little bit of creativity?
Everywhere you can. Sometimes it's while you're driving, you're thinking of lyrics, running it through your head. If you get something that you really need to write down, you just pull over. It only takes a couple minutes to pull over and back on the road. So it's as long as you're quick about it, it's not going to affect your schedule. Sometimes it's after driving, or right now it's I had yesterday off to prepare for this show. So on my day off, I can do some writing. Sometimes when I'm delivering, getting my trailer loaded or unloaded, just you find time.
So DOT is still not giving songwriter exemptions in your hours of service?
No, but they have pulled me over more than one time just to get an autograph.
Nice.
We've got a comment here from, let's see, Kathy Adams says, "Thank you, Daryn, for sharing your time and great music with us. Your sound is true country and has real heart. Best wishes for your future endeavors, hoping that you get that Grammy." Billy Bowles, our good friend Billy Bowles, who Brent, your Rural Strong Radio plays a syndicated version of that on what day is that?
It's 2 days, Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central, and again on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. 7 Central.
So Billy Bowles Swinging Country, which is not to be missed. It's a staple, should be a staple of everybody's listening pleasure. Billy says, "Good morning. Wasn't Whitney where Tommy Duncan was from?" And yes, Tommy Duncan was from Whitney, Texas, but he was discovered on the streets of Fort Worth, downtown Fort Worth, from what I understand. According to the documentary film, The Birth and History of Western Swing, which says that he was busking for tips on the streets of Fort Worth and got discovered and was pulled into Bob Wills' Texas Playboys and became one of the great vocalists of all time of any music, really. So a little trivia there.
Yeah. Speaking of somebody that is up and becoming, that I should probably mention his name, and I'm going to make sure he posts something in the groups. He surprised everybody over at the Red Carpet Awards. This guy's name is Bobby Jones. From the looking at him, you normally wouldn't tell what kind of music he does. But when he started singing, he has a deep baritone, real old traditional country sound. And I'd like to see if people can take a listen to him here in the next week or so.
Where's he out of?
Believe it or not, Kenya.
Kenya. Wow.
He won his second Red Carpet Awards this year.
Nice.
Was he in a pic? Was he one of the guys in the picture? Yeah, there.
Yeah, on the far left.
Oh yeah. Wow, he looks. He reminds me of Stoney Edwards. I don't know how many of you guys will remember Stoney Edwards, but he reminds me of him. Good country singer, huh?
Yes, very good country singer. Yes.
Interesting.
You'll have to share some of that with us.
Yeah.
Definitely share it with Kurt and let him give it a listen.
Before we get out of here, we talked about Becky Brown's Daddy, which is the current single. I know you got some new stuff that's in the works right now, but tell us about Becky Brown's Daddy.
Well, we all grew up with learning lessons here and there about, the dating scene and so on and so forth. And, when you become a father, you always protect your daughter and so on and so forth. Well, that's who Becky Brown's daddy is. He's Becky Brown's protector. Becky Brown would be the character's date, high school date. So everybody's all the guys out there that is traditional in dating would definitely want to date somebody like Becky Brown, head cheerleader, good-looking girl. But behind every good-looking girl, there's somebody there that knows she needs protecting from.
Shining up a shotgun, huh?
Yeah, that's it.
That's so just like my high school days. My high school sweetheart was a cheerleader. Her name was Becky. I won't give her too much away because she'd probably sue me. But boy, I gave her dad a run for his money, and he, I drove that man crazy, and I was always trying to get her to sneak out, or I was sneaking in, or we gave those windows a workout. But and later, like several years later, after she and I had gone our separate ways, she was, I think she was off at college or whatever, and something happened, and I actually ran into her father, and we sat and had a nice visit, and I said, I always thought you really didn't like me. He goes, Steve, I liked you a lot. He said, the problem is you scared me because you reminded me of me when I was your age. And I thought, oh my gosh. And he goes, I knew what you were thinking. And I said, well, I don't blame you, and of course he said, one day you'll know. And sure enough, God gave me a daughter, and now she's 21, and she's had several boyfriends. Well, I'm like pointing at them going, I know what you're thinking, there's not a day that goes by that I don't look up to the heavens at her Becky, my girlfriend, my high school girlfriend's father, and say, okay, I hear you, Billy, so God has a sense of
Becky Brown's Daddy was a song that I played for Daryn when he was here. That was out of the old Mel Tillis catalog back in the 90s. I wrote that song with Bobby Tomberlin. Bobby Tomberlin, pretty well known. Brent, Bobby.
Great
Bobby
friend.
Bobby and I wrote, I think Daryn has done a couple of songs that Bobby and I have written. That one, and we wrote one. Did you do one, Daryn, called Tailgate Party?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, but that's Bobby Tumberland too. So I know, Brent, you're friends with Bobby. That's the reason I want to bring that up, because Bobby is he was a good friend of mine too. We wrote for the same company back in the late '80s, and Bobby is an excellent writer.
I can't keep up with him anymore. I mean, I've never seen a guy writing like that guy's right. He's written with everybody who's in Nashville, I believe. He was
just a kid back then, and he was brand new on the scene, and so I was writing with him to try to help him get started. Man, he just took off and went crazy.
I tell you, that's a guy we need to get him on here one of these days if we can sneak it in between all his travels and his co-writes. Because he's just a salt of the earth guy, just fun to talk with and talk about an encyclopedia of country music history. I mean, that guy started doing radio broadcasting when he was 13 years old. So he's had brushes with everybody you could think of in country music and is very well respected. But I digress. I want to roll this one now before we get out of here today. This is Becky Brown's Daddy.
Brown used to sit right in front of me. Second period American history. She had the prettiest smile that I've ever seen. She was the head cheerleader of the football team. I was squirming like a kid with dance in my pants, but I finally asked her out to the high school dance. I drove up to her house on Maple Drive. I bet my heart rate registered 135. I walked in, but I wanted to turn and run, 'cause her daddy was cleaning up his old shotgun. Yeah, he looked up at me with an evil grin and said, "Son, you better have Becky home by 10. No, you don't mess around with Raymond Brown. He's the meanest snake in this one-horse town." I became the talk of Cypress Bend. The night Becky Brown's daddy went off the deep end. It all started when we left the dance at 9. Drove down to the lake at the county line. Becky was kissing around on my ear. Somehow I knocked the truck right out of gear. We rolled into the lake and it was 10:30. Becky Brown's daddy went off the deep end. We had to hang our clothes on a cypress tree. Yeah, Becky Brown never looked better to me. I thought I died and gone to heaven at last, till I heard the sound of a shotgun blast. Yeah, I felt the bird shot go into my skin the night Becky Brown's daddy went off the deep end. Yeah, you don't mess around with Raymond Brown. He's the meanest snake in this one-horse town. I became the talk of Cypress Bend. The night Becky Brown's daddy went off the deep end. Off the deep end.
Well, as I said at the outset of this show here, that's country music.
Good job, Daryn. Good job.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Well, Daryn, if folks want to be able to download that music or follow your career or just track along with you, where do they go to do that?
I have a couple different sites, www.darynwright.com. I have a site on Reverb Nation, and I also have DistroKid started.
Excellent. Before we get out of here, anybody else have any last questions for Daryn?
I've got a comment that I want to make. A lot of stuff going on, Daryn, with your music. We're working on the planning. We're in the planning stages, and hopefully, real quickly, the production stages of a new video for a brand new song that's going to knock everybody's socks off, and I think start a whole new dance craze eventually. But also, we're doing this this concert series at National Hall in Fort Worth. Beautiful old dance hall. It'll accommodate, anywhere from 300 to 500 people, depending on the configuration. And so what I want to do is we're going to do a lot of different types of nights, like Western swing. And what I definitely want to do some honky tonk theme nights. And I'd love to have you come up and be one of the featured performers on a regular basis at National Hall. And I think we can probably get you in over at Little Red's Longhorn Saloon as well, and do some cool things around the Fort Worth area. People in Fort Worth, more people need to hear your music and see you perform that stuff live. And I think it's going to be great. So would you come up to Fort Worth and do some concerts with us?
Absolutely.
Great. Perfect. Kurt?
I just want to say, Daryn, I don't want to give away too much, but I do want to say that Daryn and I are working on something for a future project that is very, very, very interesting. And it's sort of a modern throwback to old Western style music with a modern production. And that's about all I'm going to give away. But these songs are Westerns, but they are stories unlike anything that you've ever heard, and things that I believe there's a market for. And we're just going to see where it takes us. But we're in the process of working on that, and it'll be a while before it's finished. And we're not in a rush to get it done, but there's a good project in the future for Daryn.
Well, you just got Johnny Angel's attention out there, so that's good.
Hey, Johnny.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, Daryn, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us here today. And we know you got to get the wheels rolling again here and get on down the road. But thanks so much for the time here. It's been a pleasure. We love listening to the music here, and can't wait to have you back to talk about more what you got going on.
Well, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
And we want to thank everybody who's joined us today. We've had a lot of people jump on, a lot of people make comments. I want to point out one thing here that's kind of, we mentioned it in the preview video for this. If you happen to catch that on Facebook, if you go back and watch the replay and you don't hear any of this music, go to the Rural Strong Media YouTube channel and find the replay archived on there. It'll be archived on the Facebook page, but unfortunately, Facebook hasn't been playing nice here, and they've been muting a lot of this music, citing copyright violations, which are absolutely not copyright violations, but they're making it very hard to get that music shared out there, and it's against our best efforts here. But we're trying to navigate all that. But in the meantime, if you get to the Facebook page and find that music muted, go to the Rural Strong Media YouTube channel and listen to that thing in its entirety. It archives automatically. So we hope you'll check it out if you didn't get a chance to check out the whole thing here, because it's great to spend that time with Daryn. And I hope everybody will get plugged into this Fort Worth Musical Moments Facebook group, the Clarksville Creative Sound Facebook group, and the Rural Strong Media Facebook page, because we got a whole lot going on there right now here. And we want to make mention of the fact that since Kurt's here, we've got another Road Stories with Kurt Rao coming up, and that's going to be on a Tuesday, this coming Tuesday next time. We got something going on Monday, so we can't do it. But Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central, we're going to get on there and talk Road Stories. And Kurt, it's been a minute.
Is it 7 p.m. Central or 8? I always get confused. Oh, it's 8 o'clock, isn't it? You're right.
8 Central. Yeah, that'll be 9 o'clock in the East here is when that'll be, this coming Tuesday. And we can unpack some more Road Stories. Yeah,
there's going to be some interesting, fun stuff to talk about on that show. And so tune in. You'll hear some stuff about some of your favorite artists that you haven't heard before. And so, yeah, that'll be Tuesday at 8 p.m. Thanks for mentioning that, Brent.
And a lot of the stuff you hear on Kurt Rao's Road Stories are mostly true.
Some of it.
I can put my stamp on it. They're all true, and they're saying, and a lot of people go, I can't believe that happened. It really did happen.
Just about anything Kurt says about me, though, and any stories about me are not true. Don't believe it.
Oh boy, I've got a lot to say about you, Steve. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
Well, before we get out of here, too, we have to make note of a milestone here, a special birthday in the Clarksville Creative Sound camp. Mackenzie McKetty, who just put out a new single, is celebrating a birthday today. Last week, we were on here celebrating Evie Mae's birthday, and now Mackenzie is up here with a birthday. So happy birthday to you, Mackenzie.
Happy birthday, Mackenzie.
Yeah, what is she like now?
Happy birthday.
It's the big 2-0 this year.
220, really? Well, she just did a video. She and Braden just did a duet together. So, I mean, he's 17. That's kind of like, I don't know. Let's get close to breaking the law, I think. Musically, isn't it?
Well, I tell you, if you get a chance to go check it out, if you're friends with her mom Tracy on there, put it together a really nice video slide of photos of her all the way from infancy on up to today. So go check that out, and if you get a chance, go out and wish her a happy birthday. She is doing some amazing things there. A heck of a singer, a heck of a fiddle player as well.
Yeah, we got great hopes for Mackenzie, and in fact, I just want to say today I'm going to start mixing Mackenzie's brand new album. She's got a brand new album coming out, and guys, it's fascinating, fabulous songs. I mean, we got some monster stuff on Mackenzie, and cannot wait for it to come out. Brent, I will be sending you copies of this, and you too, Steve, before we actually release it. You guys will be able to hear it. So.
Well, I can't wait to get it, and I can't wait for everybody to listen to it on Rural Strong Radio, which is our 24/7 streaming radio station found at ruralstrongmedia.com or on the Live 365 streaming radio app for your mobile device. We're playing the best in traditional country music, western swing, and bluegrass, a little southern rock and inspirational. A lot of the great Clarksville Creative Sound artists. You'll hear some Daryn Wright on there, some Mackenzie McKetty, and a bunch of the artists that were mentioned here today in this program. And we'd love for you to check it out again, ruralstrongmedia.com or on the Live 365 streaming radio app. And as we say every week, join us on Sundays at 9 a.m. Central. We start out with two great programs coming out of Texas. First, from Vider to the World, it is Robbie Lynn with Sundays Kind of Country, which is how I love to get my Sundays started. 3 hours of great inspirational music from the legendary artists and the independent artists. And Robbie always pulls out some gems. Then I come in about 12:45 p.m. Eastern time with a little bit of an inspirational short set. We like to pull a few to get us to the top of the hour. 1 o'clock Eastern, noon Central, when we head on out to Lubbock, Texas to join our friend Billy Bowles for Billy Bowles Swinging Country. And you know what Billy's all about. He's got 2 hours of the best traditional country music and western swing music, and just a great music to get your week started here. So I hope you will go check all that out again, beginning at 9 a.m. Central time this Sunday on Rural Strong Radio. Well, I tell you what, it's time for us to get on out of here. Steve, it's been a good week. Anything else going on that we need to make mention of?
No, Brent. Well, we're gearing up for the Western Swing Festival, which is rapidly approaching in November. We're going to have a showing out there. We're going to take the stage on Thursday at 5:30 and play for 2.5 hours. Got all kinds of things up our sleeve for that deal. I know Kurt's been working with Shane McCauley, kind of our band leader, and Shane's pulled the A-list band back together. I'll tell you one thing I'm really excited about, Kurt. We've got not only Scarlett Deering, who's been a great fiddle player for us, for our band for the last few gigs, and also a good vocalist for background harmonies. But Scarlett has roped her dad, Milo, into joining us, too. So We got legendary Milo Deering as the other fiddle player, so we'll have twin fiddles deluxe for that.
Well, I want to say Steve Markward has the very best road band I've ever worked with, period, bar none, hands down. It's the best, the A-list band. And you're right, Steve, we got some great musicians going to be there with us on this thing. And Daryn, you're going to have a ball when you walk on stage with this band, I'm telling you. Yeah,
we're going to get Daryn with this band. That band's going to be playing quite a bit in 24 for sure. We got a lot planned for them, and they're all excited because they've been itching to get back together since we played last November, and we just had a lot of other things going on. But now we're gearing up for this National Hall concert series. So stay tuned for that. We'll be putting the word out as we get these shows nailed down. We'll be bringing folks like Daryn Wright in on a regular basis, and other Clarksville Creative Sound artists and artists from beyond Clarksville Creative Sound. We'll be working with Mary Minter of CMA of Texas to bring some talent in from her world, and who knows where else we may go. We've been talking to some pretty notable people that most of y'all have heard of that we'll probably get in from time to time to do some appearances as well. So that thing, we're excited about that because we just put in a state-of-the-art brand new sound system in National Hall and a stage lighting system. So it's going to be a whole different experience.
And I want to apologize for having my phone on. I always turn my phone off. It's rang twice during this podcast. But I'm truly waiting for a phone call from Reba McEntire and Dolly Parton. And so I don't want to miss that call. And I'm afraid if they call and I have my phone off, I'll miss it. So I apologize.
Kurt, you just tell them that we're doing a show right now, and this is really important stuff. We're talking to Daryn Wright. So
well, we're trying to book them on some stuff that we want them on. And so, but I was just scared to death I'd miss a call, so I didn't want to turn my phone off. I apologize for that.
Speaking of that, we've had we want to continue to update people on the American Country Network launch, this new television network, which we find ourselves very involved in working with Tommy Snyder and his group to help promote that, and we're working on some things that Clarksville Creative Sound is going to be hopefully very involved with concerning the network. So we're super excited about that. Tommy actually made the jump. He sold his house in Colleyville, Texas, and moved to Nashville. So he's on the ground out there. Well, actually, I say he's on the ground. I talked to him this morning, and he was doing the last bit of packing to turn the keys over to the new owners of his house in Texas. But he's they've got their office established. They're officing out of the Capitol Record Building in downtown Nashville. So one of the investors in the network are giving them office space there, which would be a great place to operate out of. And of course, they bought the old Fontenelle Mansion estate, Barbara Mandrell's place, which is where the studio is going to be operating out of. There's going to be some cool things going on there that's going to involve a lot of entertainment, hospitality, talking about hotel rooms and things like that. So it'll be a kind of a destination for entertainment, and we're going to be hopefully a really big part of all of that. So
they'll have an amphitheater there too, Steve, as well. We'll be able to do shows there. So that's huge.
Yeah. So Tommy's been very, very gracious in including us, and we hope to reciprocate and help them get the launch of that network off the ground. Right at the first of the year, and we expect that thing to do big things. So we know what Tommy's able to do and what he's done with other projects that he's been involved in. He doesn't mess around. So we believe that network in short order, within the first 12 months, will have 20, 30 million viewers. And so there's your avenue to allow our music to travel, because they're going to put a big emphasis on independent artists, which we're thrilled about, and which we think is a great move for them as well. So we're excited about. There's a lot of things in the works here, and Brent, you're gonna be a part of that as well, because we're talking about radio networks and all kinds of things. So
we're looking to it. A lot to get to here in the next few weeks here, and I hope everybody will keep coming back each week to Fort Worth Musical Moments each Friday at 10 a.m. Central, as we'll keep unpacking all this stuff to the extent that we can as we progress here, and keep everybody up to date on the latest and greatest. Well, I tell you what, in respect of everybody's time here, we're going to step on aside here. And again, if you missed any portion of the show, you can catch it on demand. And we'll be back again next Friday at 10 a.m. Central for another Fort Worth Musical Moments. I hope everybody has a great week. We'll see you next week. You've been watching Fort Worth Musical Moments, a production of Rural Strong Media and Clarksville Creative Sound, copyright 2023. Please join the Fort Worth Musical Moments Facebook group and join us each Friday at 10 a.m. Central as we introduce you to another key figure in Fort Worth's musical heritage.